When it comes to the contribution to the list of superheroes, DC has given the world some of the most pivotal superheroes. The character designs have a lot of detailing in the background stories, abilities, motives, objectives, etc. These are the variables that have helped create a plethora of superheroes. In this never-ending list of characters, there have been several heroes and villains who, despite their prominence in stories, still fail to be completely explored and definitely can be marked as underrated. However, DC is perpetually remaking modern-age versions of these long-last characters that are pretty interesting.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
It will come natural and turn the bounty on you.
JONAH Hex. In the 19th century, JONAH Hex was a renowned bounty hunter on the American Western frontier. His image as the fiercest man alive followed him wherever he went, and he had murdered hundreds of men until his death. Hex was a tough anti-hero with a strong personal code of honor that kept him on the good side despite his violent impulses. As a boy, JONAH was a frequent victim of physical violence at the hands of his drunken father, Woodson Hex. His father finally refused to support him and sold him into enslavement to the Apache tribe when he was 13 years of age in 1851. They worked him ceaselessly until one day in 1853 when he protected their leader from a puma and he was recognized as a full-fledged member of the tribe. The chief raised JONAH as his own son, but his adoptive brother, Notante, became envious. Notante shared JONAH's feelings for a young girl named White Fawn. So in 1854, at the age of 16, he betrayed his brother at their manhood ceremony and left JONAH for dead with their foes, the Kiowa. When he tried to halt the killing of 2 Kiowa children, he is shot in the belly by cavalry patrollers who were seeking the scalps of Native Americans to take to Fort Hastings for $25 apiece. After being left for dead a second time, he is nursed back to health in the woods by an elderly trapper. When he returns to his tribe's camp, he discovers that they have all vanished. During his tenure in the 21st century, Hex became adept at driving different motor vehicles. He is skilled enough to learn how to ride a horse that is foreign to him. Wendy Taylor, the famed gunslinger, taught Hex how to shoot. His reflexes are so quick that he's been shown to be faster on a draw than Wild Bill Hickok. He can also shoot when blindfolded. JONAH Hex has extensive training in military self-defense, boxing, and a variety of Native American martial arts. He fought a bear with nothing but a knife, and he won. He has also used his knife to kill an alligator. JONAH Hex, a former high-ranking cavalry officer during the Civil War, is well-versed in the usage of a saber. Static. Static is Virgil Hawkins, a young superhero in Dakota City with electromagnetic abilities that he got during the Big Bang. He was a member of both the Heroes and the Teen Titans. Virgil Ovid Hawkins was born on Paris Island in Dakota City, the second child of Robert and Jean Hawkins, and a younger brother of Sharon Hawkins. He was close to his uncle, Tishome, as a youngster and was appraised to be like him, but Tishome advised that he focus on his education and build a name for himself. When Tishome was wrongfully imprisoned for the Van Hauser murders, young Virgil knew he was innocent and wrote repeated letters to various law companies inferring this, with little effect. Fearing that the increase in gang violence will have a detrimental impact on them, his family relocated to the extensively safer working class area of Sadler. Later in the 5th grade, Virgil met and befriended Larry Wade. Later on, he would become friends with Chuck Kane, Rick Stone, and Felix. He also got acquainted with Frida Gorin in high school. When Virgil was exposed to the gas while attempting to evacuate, he quickly developed a range of electromagnetic powers and managed to exit the turmoil unhurt by levitating on a trash can lid. He chose to become a superhero, dubbing himself Static. After practicing with his newfound skills and being inspired by his enthusiasm in comic books, a mutant genetic explosion damaged Static's physiology, causing him to have unique abilities. Static's body is capable of producing raw electromagnetic energy, which he has learned to harness, regulate, and increase. Static can produce electricity from his body and use it in a variety of attacks and applications. He has the ability to charge, drain, and project his electricity in a number of regulated ways. Virgil can recover from injuries quicker than typical people, having healed from a swarm of full-body stings in less than a day, when usually they would have killed a normal person. Nonetheless, he has been seriously injured to the point where either a nurse or Frida must attend him. Vic Sage. When Vic Sage, a television investigative journalist, came upon things he couldn't pursue legally, and so he donned a customized mask that made it look as though he didn't have a face. Sage probed corruption in the face of all risks, such as the question, leaving a blank calling card that when touched created a smoke question mark. Victor Sage was born Charles Victor Saz and grew up as an orphan with a reputation for causing mischief. Saz took delight in defying the physical maltreatment of the Catholic orphanage where he was confined. Even though he was able to attend college, his violent inclinations remained unabated. During college, he viciously assaulted a drug dealer for supplying him LSD, which prompted Sage to distrust his own perceptions when under the influence of the substance. Sage established himself as an extremely loud and combative reporter with a reputation for obnoxiousness in Hub City after graduating from college. He subsequently transitioned to television journalism, which led him to examine Dr. R.B. Twain. Sage's life would be forever changed as a result of this story. The question boasts brilliant brains and a highly surprising manner of thinking. He can manufacture weapons out of everyday materials and frequently utilizes brain to win conflicts. Capable of easily incapacitating huge groups of criminals and has knocked down professional police officers and troops with minimal effort. Vic has demonstrated enough talent to take down 2 dangerous attack dogs and their highly trained owner in a spur of the moment. Although not nearly as good as Nightwing, he is a skilled acrobat who has utilized his talent to avoid a deadly fall by bouncing off building walls and somersaulting to produce extra drag. He can travel about hopping from rooftop to rooftop like many other non-powered vigilantes. Knight and Squire. Knight and Squire are an English crime-fighting partnership. They were inspired by the American superheroes Batman and Robin. As a result, they became members of the Club of Heroes and eventually Batman Incorporated. Percy Sheldrake was the first knight, and he battled crime alongside his son, Cyril Sheldrake, who was the first squire. When Spring-Heeled Jack assassinates Percy, Cyril becomes the new knight with Beryl Hutchinson as his squire. When Cyril is slain by the heretic, Hutchinson takes over as knight. Bill Finger and Dick Sprang developed Knight and Squire, who originally appeared in Batman. Donna Troy. Donna Troy, also known as Wonder Girl, Troya, and Wonder Woman, is a heroine who has a lengthy history with the Teen Titans and Titans. She is Wonder Woman's sister since she is a mystical mirror replica of her. The sorceress Magala utilized a magical mirror to construct a replica of Diana, but with her own personality, to be a playmate for the young Wonder Woman. She was kidnapped by Dark Angel, who mistook her for the real Diana and cursed her to a life of numerous, terrible lives, giving her the name Donna Troy as a cruel joke on her origins. Donna was orphaned by her original mother, Dorothy Hinckley, a dying, unwed adolescent who had given her up for adoption in one of the lives she ended up living. Donna's adoptive father, Carl Stacy, died in a work-related accident, and her adoptive mother, Faye Stacy, put her up for adoption again, unable to sustain the child due to his growing expenditures. Donna recalled being rescued from a fire by the goddess Rhea, who, as a mythical titan, carried her to New Cronus and reared her as one of the 12 Titan seeds, orphans from other worlds who would have died if Rhea had not spared them.
There's a new girl, right?
All I can say is that she's a wonderful addition to the team.
Each was given the name of a site where the Titans were revered, and Donna was given the surname Troy as a nod to the ancient metropolis. At the age of 13, she was taken to Earth, where her memories of New Cronus were wiped until the time came for her to return and assume her position among the seeds as God. Donna, being a magical duplicate of Diana, possesses the majority of Diana's abilities. She has lost and regained her capabilities, including abilities that are unique to her. Healing time has reduced. Donna, like Diana, possesses truth coaxing abilities even without a lasso of truth. It is nearly hard to lie to her. Donna can glide for brief periods of time on wind currents, whereas Wonder Woman has a psychic connection with animals. Donna has a psychic connection with her. This permits one to sense the emotions, dreams, and even thoughts of another. Superhuman agility, superhuman durability, superhuman reflexes, superhuman speed, superhuman stamina, and superhuman strength are among the other talents. Donna, like the rest of her kind, does not age when abroad, despite the fact that she has a longer lifetime even in the man's world. JEMM, son of Saturn. JEMM, son of Saturn, is a Crimson Saturnian who works with Martian Manhunter. After a white Martian revolt, JEMM, King Jack's son, was forced to abandon the palace. His mother Jarla was able to conceal him in a cave where he was instructed in the use of his skills by his white Saturnian tutor Rahani. After the white Martians killed both his mother and instructor, JEMM stole a ship and fled to Earth in search of his girlfriend Sira, who had fled there earlier. When he arrives in Harlem, New York, he meets an orphan called Luther Mankin. JEMM ultimately finds Sira after a series of adventures with and without Luther. Then they all went to Nubak, a red Saturnian colony. JEMM was disavowed and driven out by both groups on Nubak because he refused to join sides in a civil war. JEMM and Luther returned to Earth depressed. JEMM had Saturnian physiology and powers which included flight, metamorphosis, psychokinesis, telekinesis, telepathy, energy projection, superhuman durability, superhuman stamina, and superhuman strength. Plastic Man. Patrick Eel O'Brien was a small-time thief who transformed into the elongated superhero Plastic Man. He was a tremendously strong member of the Justice League of America who generally concealed himself behind a grin and a joke. A few years ago, the criminal known as Eel O'Brien and his band of underlings stormed inside and attempted to loot Coal Chemical, but the police arrived. While Eel and his companions were fleeing, he was shot by a cop and exposed to an unknown chemical. He made it outside before collapsing, unconscious from the agony. When Eel awakened, he discovered that his flesh was elastic and that he had no control over it, causing him to morph into odd and terrifying forms. He terrified everyone in this way, including officers, drunks, and members of his own gang, who mistook him for dead and shot him when they saw his new appearance. Woozy Winks, a former Arkham Asylum convict, stops Eel from committing suicide on the bridge. They resolve to employ O'Brien's newly discovered abilities to combat crime. O'Brien and Woozy foiled an attempt heist by his previous gang after exposing them to the same chemical that gave him his powers.
Don't worry, I'm gonna get you out of here.
When asked by the press, Eel stated that he intended to name himself Elastic Man, which a reporter misheard as Plastic Man. Plastic Man's abilities stem from a mishap in which his body was immersed in an unknown industrial chemical concoction, which also entered his bloodstream via a gunshot wound. This triggered a mutagenesis process throughout his body, altering his physiology. Eels dwell in a fluid condition that is neither totally liquid nor entirely solid. Plastic Man has perfect command of his molecular structure. O'Brien, according to Batman, is the only person on Earth capable of stopping Martian Manhunter. Plastic Man's ability significantly increases his durability. He can tolerate corrosives, punctures, and concussions without being injured. He is immune to high-velocity strikes that would kill a regular human, as well as blasts from energy weapons and bullets. His body mass can be scattered, yet he is invulnerable in all other ways. He can regenerate and/or absorb missing or injured tissue, and while it takes a lengthy time, it is significantly faster than a normal person. ARNUS Icon. ARNUS of Terminus is an extraterrestrial negotiator who has become stranded on the planet. Following his fall in the Deep South in 1839, he made his way up from slave to Union soldier to lawyer, and was engaged in much of the Black history. He took on the disguise of Augustus Freeman, presenting 4 times as his own son. When he met young Raquel, she persuaded him to become a superhero, an icon for Dakota City's Black population. An extraterrestrial starliner malfunctioned and was destroyed in 1839, and a life pod that had been launched crashed in the middle of a cotton field in the American South. The pod changed the appearance of its passenger, ARNUS, to resemble the first intelligent life form that discovered him. That life form was Miriam, a slave lady who saw the pod's crash landing. As a result, Miriam discovered a newborn boy within her mother's eyes. ARNUS is still with us in the present. He did not appear to mature past maturity. To conceal this, he took the identity of his own son on this occasion. He was posing as Augustus Freeman IV, the great-grandson of his original human persona. By the late 20th century, Augustus is still stranded, waiting for Earth's technology to catch up to his life pod. He has always conducted discreet acts of kindness while secretly wielding superpowers that belie his human look. However, Augustus's house is broken into one night, and he utilizes his talents for the first time in decades. As observed by Raquel Irvin, Raquel is an optimistic adolescent who was born in Paris Island, the coldest, poorest, and most gang-infested district. Her chances were grim until she met Augustus Freeman IV by coincidence. Raquel convinced Augustus to become a superhero dubbed Icon, with herself as his sidekick, Rocket, after witnessing him utilize his skills. Icon's life pod transformed his DNA so that he resembled a regular human being, allowing him to blend in with Earth's residents. As a result of this procedure, his now human/alien genetic structure was maximized. As a result, Icon boasts a wide range of superhuman skills that are uncommon even for a Terminant. Icon appears to have limited superhuman durability, withstanding massive impact forces, large caliber bullets, severe temperatures and pressure, and powerful energy blasts without harm. Despite his near invulnerability, Icon may be injured. He can, however, heal from most wounds in an astonishingly short period of time. Icon recovered quickly from the chest wounds sustained by Payback.
That is Richard.
Richard Dragon, Master of Kung Fu. Richard Dragon is a world-renowned martial artist. This has enabled him to play a variety of characters. He's been a robber, a spy, a vigilante, and later in life, a martial arts instructor. In this capacity, he has mentored a number of well-known superheroes. Richard Dragon grew up in the slums of St. Louis, Missouri, destitute and abandoned. He has stated that his father was killed in an aircraft crash. Richard was a burglar in Japan when the O-sensei apprehended him while attempting to steal a Buddha statue. He attempted to assassinate the elderly man but was quickly beaten by O-sensei. Richard Dragon impressed O-sensei. Thus, he accepted him as a pupil. Richard studied under the O-sensei for 6 years, trying to manage his wrath. He also became acquainted with Ben Turner, O-sensei's other pupil. Combat, history, philosophy, and science were among the subjects they studied. When their training was completed, O-sensei dispatched them to determine their fate. Dragon and Turner chose to begin their new lives in New York City, accompanied by O-sensei's goddaughter, Carolyn Wusan. When they arrive, they are ambushed and Carolyn is abducted by a spy known as the Swiss. The Swiss grew infatuated with Richard and planned an attack, including very sophisticated weaponry specialists. Richard beat them by channeling his strength via the Dragon's Claw, which O-sensei had given him. He then went after the Swiss on his motorbike, which resulted in a vehicle collision in which Carolyn was murdered. This upset Richard, and he pursued the Swiss to an empty junkyard where he killed him in a battle. Although Richard Dragon does not have superhuman abilities, his incredible martial arts achievements frequently made him appear more than human, and he is regarded as one of the world's top, if not the world's most dangerous martial artists. Dragon is skilled in martial arts weapons, but prefers hand-to-hand fighting. He carries a talisman entrusted to him by the O-sensei, a jade claw known as the Dragon's Claw. This totem appears to mystically collect and direct Dragon's energy in the times of greatest need. Yet, it is more likely that the claw acts as a concentrating point for Dragon's attention and does not possess any genuine abilities of its own.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.